the determination to say, not only am I going to live, but I'm going to live a long time and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it.
Welcome to Believe in Progress, the American Association for Cancer Research Foundation podcast. Join us and be inspired by the incredible stories of those who have faced cancer with strength and resilience, and the medical professionals who are working tirelessly to find new treatments and ultimately a cure. Believe in Progress isn't just about the science of cancer. It's about the human side of this disease. Together, we can make progress in the fight against cancer and bring hope to those who need it most. Welcome to the Believe in Progress podcast, brought to you by the American Association for Cancer Research. I'm your host, Mitch Stoller, the Chief Philanthropic Officer at the AACR. Today, we have an inspiring episode featuring Michael Hugo, a remarkable individual whose journey through a life and battle with glioblastoma showcased resilience, innovation, and unwavering determination. So join us as we delve into Michael's incredible story from his early life and career to his groundbreaking efforts in the fight against cancer. Michael, such a great honor to have you here today on Believe in Progress. Thanks so much for giving us some time.
Thanks, Mitch, and really appreciate you guys being out there and trying to move the ball forward.
Well, thank you. Love to, you told me earlier that you grew up in northern Michigan. So whereabouts in northern Michigan? And tell us a little bit about your early childhood, if you will.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to give you the old Michigan map. So it's just north of, it's on the east side.
Okay.
And just north of where population ceases to exist. And so grew up on a farm. I had cows in my backyard, milk cows every day before and after school if I was not on playing sports. So, started so young that I had to ride my pedal bike, my little BMX bike around.
Really?
And yeah, and we start at 4:30 we had to start milking at 4:30 in the morning. And so my dad would get up at 3:30 and just throw a cup of ice water right in my face. And I'm determined and I'm stubborn, but doesn't matter how determined and stubborn you are.
Right.
Ice cubes and water in Michigan at 3:30 in the morning.
Right.
You just cannot. And then he would go back to bed.
Right.
Right.
Now, was it a dairy farm?
It was a dairy farm, but it was not my family's dairy farm because they didn't want to make me weak by, catering to me if
Okay.
so.
And is that considered the Upper Peninsula? Is that different area?
No, the Upper Peninsula is people give you that. The Upper Peninsula is up here.
Okay.
They can do this kind of deal.
Yeah.
Just the mid to upper northern lower Michigan.
Did this early morning, training regimen and work ethic, did it have an influence on you as you got older?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like anything. You get used to whatever you do from a habit, right? So I was absolutely bound and determined. I was 12 years old and there was 2 lines of 8 cows each that would come in. And there was 25, 30-year-olds on one side. And there was me, a 12-year-old. And I was just so determined that I would beat everybody, right? and finish my line of cows before they did.
Okay.
And, so once you kind of anything, if you run, miles every day, it's just normal everyday life to go run a 5K.
Yep.
That's easy. But if you've never run, if you never get pushed at a young age, then going for a little run is hard.
So you're quite a competitor, I know. But it sounds like that you kind of even took that competition to even the milking of the cows. I have a 5-year-old grandson that is also a competitor. He like everything we do. It's like we play cornhole or we play he's very active and wants to win. And I'm trying to educate him a little bit about you got to be a good sport. You can't win all the time, but it's good to have that. Good to have that energy, if you will.
It's grit,
Yeah.
right? And you can correlate that grit and competitiveness to success in life. Angela Duckworth had a nice book about that. And my wife put a rule in this week
Okay.
with my children and I. we played taco versus burrito, which is like a little card game.
Okay.
I lose all the time, but my two girls, they're so competitive. There were some card throwing and stomping out of the
I can
room.
relate. I can relate to
Yeah,
that.
so family game nights are weekend nights only because of the competition.
Okay.
So
So tell me about your family. Tell me about your wife and your girls. I know they're the centerpiece of your life, but love to hear about them, and I'm sure the audience would like to hear about them as well.
yeah, so I have a 7 and 9 year old daughters, blonde little girls that just absolutely melt my heart, and they have complete different personalities. Completely different personalities. One is very outgoing and extrovert, and athletic, and the other one is tiny, very very quiet. But that one gives you the zingers. Just you look at her twice, like, what did you just say? And they're hilarious, right?
Right.
I love them to death, and every day since I've been diagnosed, I get to, and I have like a really good talks at night about what's important, and I ask them questions like, what was something special about your day? And now they're looking for something special. They're looking for positives in their life. And my wife, I really think she's part of the reason why I'm alive. She was way, way, way smarter than me. She was an attorney. Then she took a job into the neuroscience, and she was doing clinical research for 5 years in the neuroscience world before I was diagnosed. And since I've been diagnosed, she ended up stepping away from her corporate job at Medtronic and using her talents to keep me alive, working with or volunteering for the Musella Foundation, which is really specific for glioblastoma and brain cancer. She's on a conference call with some of the universities right now, trying to see what's the new, latest, and greatest thing.
Now she's not a scientist, is she, or is she a scientist?
Well, I
She
mean,
could be,
right
right?
now, right now, at first when we were diagnosed and I was taken to some of the universities for my diagnosis, they said, "Okay, Doctor Google," right? And
She had it.
she did that did not sit well with her. But yeah, she's basically a PhD scientist in glioblastoma at this point in time, and now all of the the neuro-oncologists and doctors ask her to send them, what's coming up and the different oncology reports, and they look to her for advice now.
Um, just take a step back. You're an engineer, right? By training, and you went to school to become an engineer. Could you tell us a little bit about that interest in that and why and what you did with that once you got your first jobs?
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up on the farm, and so you had to figure things out. There was nobody to help you, and so welding at a young age and fixing things at a young age, and actually, I got in a bet with my sister's boyfriend. My sister went through college really quickly. In under 4 years, she got her teaching degree. And my sister's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend now, was kind of a jerk to her and said, "You could never finish an engineering degree in under 4 years because they have a 5 year program at our school." Well, I took that personally as a challenge. And my sister helped me navigate like what classes when, stuff like that. So after 2 years, I had 1 2 credit class left. Like, and I didn't bring any from high school. I just took 27 credits one semester,
Wow.
and I went to multiple schools at the same time. And after 2 years, I was done except
When
for
did you
one.
sleep, man?
You know what? I bet you I worked 20% harder than the average college student.
Okay.
It was more about being strategic in your time, being strategic in your classes, and doing it in the right order.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was fine. I got through. I mean, there were some tough days, right? I mean,
I'm sure.
there was. yeah, differential equations came down to the very last test for me to pass. But C or above a C was for continue. That's what we always said. And so I was over in Taiwan doing a master's because I had the 2 credit class for a whole year. So I said, well, I'll do an MBA. And while I was over there, I put my resume on Monster. It's like an
Yeah.
Indeed,
Yeah. Yeah.
right,
Hmm.
at the
I'm
time.
familiar.
And so a recruiter got a hold of me while I was finishing my MBA in international business. And they said, we think you might have a typo on your resume, but if it's not a typo, we're really interested in interviewing you. And I was like, okay. So I interviewed in Taiwan, came back into to Stryker in Kalamazoo, interviewed in person there, and they gave me a bunch of riddles, like kind of like an IQ test where they would just put puzzles in front of you, and based on the different ones you solved or how many you solved, they put you in different categories. So I ended up getting kind of like the cream of the top, where it was a design engineer, right? We're just come up with ideas and an ideas guy. And so, like, I don't know if somebody was with me, kind of putting a hand on my shoulder, but I was able to come up with unique solutions that sometimes some of the engineers had never even heard of or never even thought about. And they're like, well, I guess that does work in some of these riddles. And so I got that job, and designing beds and stretchers, and basically any conceptual idea that the beds and stretcher team wanted wanted me to work on.
Hmm.
And it was an awesome job, and I became best friends with the old school CAD and mechanic guys.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I grew up. My dad is genius. He's an old school mechanic type guy,
Right.
and so I related with these older gentlemen,
The
and
natural
they
fit
were
for you.
genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were geniuses, and we have all these Ivy League school guys that have masters and PhDs and stuff like that, and they're great at calculations. But me and this buddy, we ended up being team. Like, I had my own team, and because I was the only one with a degree, right? They kind of put me as a leader of this team, and we would just it was a blast. We ended up having our own section carved out, and for the first 2 years, I was younger than the interns that were working there. And so, but again, I don't want to take credit because I just asked all the really smart, hands-on people, what would you do? And then we would just kind of talk it out, and like our conversation, and come up with solutions.
That's neat.
So yeah, it was really a blessing to have them.
Then you went to Medtronic, which is a huge company, I think in Minneapolis, right? Or all over.
Yes,
They're all over the place, but
they're all over the
yeah.
place. So I was trying to get into sales, right? I wanted to get into sales, and basically Stryker said, well, you don't have sales experience. We're not going to put you in sales. And I was like, I was 20 when you guys hired
Right.
me. How
Right.
how much sales experience do you
Right.
expect me to get?
Give me the
Right?
opportunity, and I'll show you. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And so they said, well, too bad. So I actually had started a beef jerky distribution company while I was working as an engineer. And so I would drive a meat wagon. That's what the president of the Stryker called it,
Okay.
because it was a giant van.
All right.
And I would drive it in the mornings, and after I would deliver all of the products and restock the shelves of all the party stores, grocery stores.
Wow.
And that was my sales experience. So it's,
So you're
then I went to
entrepreneur. You're an
Medtronic.
entrepreneur as well.
Yes, yes. And then Medtronic had a job opening with that was doing a recall. That was kind of like a conceptual design idea. And so they asked me to come and do a big project for them. And I'd been doing recalls and big projects for Stryker at the time. So
Many
I
years
took that role.
ago, Mike, I used to work. I ran the Christopher and Dana Reeve Paralysis Foundation, and Medtronic was a donor, and I think they supported the organization. I had opportunities to visit folks there, but pretty prominent company, that's for sure.
Oh man, they've been great, and what they're doing So were you in Miami then?
I was not. It was in the Reeve Foundation was in New Jersey. Now the Miami project, which was the Nick and Mark Bonacani Fund,
Yep.
was in Miami, and obviously I knew those folks quite well. But no, I was in the New Jersey area. Is where the Reeve Foundation was based.
Yeah, we did a really cool project with the Miami group, and obviously there's connection between those two groups,
Yes.
and they actually used the neuro mapping
Yep.
of your brain, and they took this gentleman who was completely paralyzed, right? And the surgeons that did my surgery and the neuro mapping in 2014. They laid a motor cortex strip that could read brainwaves,
Right.
and this gentleman was able to use our like system that was a prototype research type deal, and he was able to drive a race car up Pikes Peak using only his mind.
Wow.
Yes, and so I was part of that program because I managed the neuroscience portfolio for uh, Florida.
Really?
Yeah,
Small
so
world.
I was,
Small world.
yeah, so I ended up Memphis, Florida sales. Then I went to Colorado and corporate headquarters, and then ended up getting promoted down in Florida. At one point, I was head of sales for all the neurosciences.
Mike, let's jump into your cancer journey if we can, and let's go to April 2022, and tell us the audience about your diagnosis and kind of what went on from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was at University of Miami doing a conference where all the neurosurgeons and oncology team talks about the latest and greatest. So as a manager there, I had to, we were sponsoring the event. So I shook all the hands of these people I've known for 10, 15 years. And then I drove home. And as I was driving home, I'm talking to my other reps and team, trying to, always move the ball forward. And as I was talking, I said to my one of my reps, and I only found this out after. I said, "Oh, I'm feeling nauseous, feeling nauseous." And then I woke up with my window of my car being smashed out by the ambulance, the EMT, and I had no idea what had happened. But apparently, what happened was, as I was driving home on a 45, 50 mile an hour road, because I was just about home, my car had veered off into the ditch and jumped. Um, Doing that broke my spine in 4 places. Woke up. They got me out of the car. I had a seizure, and brought to a local hospital. And a day or two later, I had another seizure right away.
Is this in
And
Florida,
then,
by the way?
yes,
Okay.
yep, in Wellington,
Wellington.
West Palm Beach
Yes.
area.
Hmm.
So I woke up, and the nurse came in. This was like 2 days later, and she showed me the PAC system, right? All of my scans and stuff like that. And so I'm scrolling through these videos or these scans, and I'm videoing them, and I text it to those doctors that did the neuro mapping of the paralyzed patient,
Right.
and I said, "You're never gonna believe what happened. I don't think that's supposed to be there, right? I certainly can read MRIs very well." And so they said, "Please come down right away. We'll take care of you." So I left against medical advice, drove down to the University of Miami, and was immediately treated. And with that, they use the latest and greatest technology. That's why, I'm learning guitar. I'm still, fishing. I'm still hunting, stuff, things like that, that are motor cortex or, memory or speaking functionality. Um, so that was really a blessing to wake up from that surgery without too many deficits.
Hmm.
But we didn't know it was glioblastoma at the time.
Do most people though that have that surgery lose those functions?
A lot of them do. It just depends on where the tumor is there are certain areas that the tumor is kind of already taken your vision or taken this. And so you want to get enough of this tumor, enough of the cancer to keep it from growing. You don't want to leave all the cells there.
Right.
But there's kind of like a give and take. So if you take too much, you're taking a healthy brain. And so this is a really good tool that I think is probably underutilized prior to surgery. It's like, hey, which way are we going to go? Are we going to come in through here? Are we going to come in through here? You know, and all those different things matter when you're cutting through brain. You know,
Yes.
brain's pretty important. So
Yes, it is. Yeah. I've actually experienced a little brain surgery myself. I had a issue called trigeminal neuralgia, which is really, it's a very rare problem, but it's significant pain that I would get shooting through. And my doctor had to go into the back, and he had to put a little gauze pad, if you will, between my the nerve and the blood vessel, which was pressing on the nerve, which created the pain. But that's serious stuff. It's serious surgery. Not quite like yours, but still, anytime you open up the head, it's tough stuff.
yeah, well, the big scary thing is, are you the same? Are you going to be the same person
Right.
when you wake up?
Right.
Am I gonna be kind and nice to my children? Am I gonna remember them? And these million scenarios in our head where we're always thinking worst case. Most of them don't come true, but
Hmm.
obviously there's a possibility that they can. And so it's nice to have the tools in the toolbox to minimize those kind of adverse events, right? Which are real.
So walk us through after surgery and what transpired after that.
Yeah, so after surgery, I mean, it was unbelievable. I got out like right after surgery, the next day.
Wow.
I was high fiving the surgeons. Like the scans looked amazing, and my brother had a bachelor party down in Key West. So right after that, I took it easy, especially for me. I took it very easy,
Okay.
but I was able to go and party. You know, now, I will tell you that I was so hungry and craving sweets from the steroids that they gave me. And I was training for a half Ironman, so I had lost a lot of muscle
Hmm.
from laying in the hospital and broken back and all
Right.
that. So I was just like, well, I need to eat. So I was eating ice cream and all the good stuff, right? I mean, and I got my MRI for the scan or for radiation. So you get a mask that is just like rips your face down and holds it real still so you can get radiation. And when they did that scan, my tumor was back. It had grown back to a third of the size of the original size. And I'm like, this is within weeks, like three, probably 2 weeks. And I mean, it hit me like a dump truck. And right along that time, I actually found out it was glioblastoma, which is basically the worst case scenario of brain tumors.
Right.
And, when my wife found out, she collapsed to the floor, just bawling her eyes out. And I just thought, man, I have to be the strong person in this because she's struggling. Right. So this is a burden that I need to help carry.
Hmm.
And so instead of feeling bad, instead of breaking down, now I cried, and I'm not a crier, but I cried for several
Of
weeks.
course.
But then I turned my attention to, you know, what would I miss? Why are we being sad? And then what can I do today? Right. Today I can take my kids to the bus stop. And you know what? In my previous role,
Hmm.
I was working at 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't get to see them go to the bus stop.
Right.
And so in some ways, it's a blessing. It's like if someone told you, this is the last piece of cake you're ever going to eat, enjoy it. And I, I just keep getting pieces of cake handed to me because I'm 28 months out and I'm still here against the odds. And I will say every year I live, because I just pick my head up and pay more attention, it's like a dog year. It's like 7,
Well, that's
which is awesome.
obviously attitude plays a really important role. I'm just curious. You've done 11 Ironman triathlons. Is that correct?
Yeah, 11 full Ironmans.
Full Ironmans, the real deal.
Correct.
Do you think your conditioning and your fitness level has helped you?
You know, I think the mentality that you get that gets created by doing anything hard, and that willpower is absolutely critical to survival in a meaningful way. Because I could survive and watch the Golden Girls on the TV in my bed. But
Right.
that's not living,
Right.
you know. And so I would say the determination to say, not only am I going to live, but I'm going to live a long time, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. And that really was, the mentality training that I did get. Now, I will tell you this. I can use my mind to overpower my body in some ways, which has not always been the best. I was doing long periods of fasting. I was doing training while I have all this on. And then I was taking metformin to reduce the blood sugar. And the next day I had a seizure. So I probably went a little bit, too hard at, trying to save myself. And that definitely set me back a good 3-4 months between the memory and stuff. But now I know where the line is. I know where not to cross.
Right.
So
tell us what you're wearing. What's on your head?
So this is tumor treating fields. And so what I like to say is, if you can see, it's like these little circles.
Yep.
It's like 36 kind of Apple Watch chargers that kind of send out different signals. And you got the front and you have the back. And I was so scared from that tumor coming back. And my wife was so on top of the research. We knew exactly what we wanted to do. So we came into the oncologist's office, and I said, we have to do everything. We have to do anything that gives me a chance. And, they didn't even really offer Optune. I mean, it was on the shelf, right? But they didn't even offer it. I said, I want Optune, and I want the tumor treating fields, because as far as the NCCN goes, that's a category 1, like the number one thing that you should do. It's up right up there with chemotherapy and radiation. I'm like, I want that. And they're like, well, it's going to be hard to live your life.
Mike, let me ask you a question while you're on this topic. You mentioned Vanessa's your wife's name, right?
Correct. Yeah.
She did a lot of this research to open up your eyes, or open up the about what actually about Optune and this potential this treatment that you're getting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I like to call her the genius
Yes.
of the family.
Okay.
Right. And I would say I'm the pretty face, but she's not only like a genius, she's actually better looking. But I was a good salesman. Let's just put it that way.
Yes. I can see that.
Yeah. So
okay.
So
I didn't mean to interrupt your thought, but I just wanted everybody to realize that you had mentioned that this was not even an option, but you guys were your own advocates here, right? Which is a pretty important message, I think.
I mean, for any cancer patient,
Yes.
You have to advocate for yourself. Obviously, when they first met my wife, she was Dr. Google to them. Now, they're like, well, can you give us, what's your latest take on X, Y, and Z? So she said, hey, here's the data. Here's the best chance for you to live 5 years out of everything that's out there, the best chance. And I said, well, 5 years, my children were 7 and 5 and 7 at the time, because this was 2 years ago.
Yep.
And I said, 5 years, that means 10 and 12. I'm going to do everything I can to be there for my 10, 12-year-old, right? And everything's a game of inches, if you think of like a football game or something. You get a couple percentage points here. Your survival rate goes from 4 or 5 to 12, with the Optune. And it's like, okay, but if I wear over 90% of the time, which goes back into kind of my competition mode, then it goes to 29% survival for 5 years. I'm like, well, if it goes there at 90, what about if I get to 98 or I even hit 99% usage one time?
Right.
And so that's how I've lived with and then supplements, diet, and so I figured 29% there, maybe a couple extra points for the diet, a couple extra percentage points for supplements and blah blah blah.
You do
And now I'm
cardio.
like,
You still do cardio fitness too?
I do, I do keep it in check. I will not do more than a 5K.
Okay.
Right. But I actually go deep sea fishing
Okay.
with this,
All right.
and on a kayak.
Oh,
So I'll have to send you a picture
I'd
of
love to
me
see
catching
it.
this. Last week I caught a giant barracuda, but the couple of weeks before that I got a huge sailfish, and the picture's gorgeous. Right. It's in Boynton
Yeah.
Beach, which
Yep.
is
I
close to Delray.
know it. Yeah.
And I've been on since then I've been on the magazine where I was the centerfold of a tarpon kayak fishing adventure.
This is like a
And
single kayak, it's the single person kayak.
yeah, it is a single person, yeah, but it's a Hobie kayak, so you use your feet,
Okay.
right?
I
So
see.
you can go 10 times farther than a normal kayak, and your hands are free. So what I do is I have these ice caps, and you can see them when I send you the picture. And these are sensitive to heat,
Yes.
right? You don't want to have sores from it being on, but I want to be as close to that 100% usage as possible.
Of course.
So I take these caps that are migraine and ice caps, and I pull them over to keep the heat down, and then I just switch them out. So as I catch fish, I have a cooler behind me,
I
and
love it.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah.
So
Please
that's
send
the engineering side.
Yeah, definitely send the pictures. Actually, maybe put some up on the website as well. You talk very lovingly, and I understand why, about your daughters. Please tell us the story about Tim McGraw. I've read about it, but I'd love to hear it in your words.
Yes. Have you ever seen the movie P.S. I Love You?
Yes.
Okay. So do you know that gentleman had glioblastoma?
I did not know that.
Yeah. So it was really because of seizures and stuff. My wife did not let me kind of walk alone, and this was directly or right after surgery, right after I was told that, hey, you may only have a couple months to live. And so I'm power walking with the ladies around the neighborhood that, my wife said, go with them,
Right.
and get out of the house. I need to break from you. I'm used to you being on the road all the time. And so I'm walking and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, all right, I want to do something special for my wife. I want to do something special for my kids. Kind of like the P.S. I Love You, where he plans kind of everything in advance. So we got to talking about what we could do, and I said, Tim McGraw has 3 little girls. His father actually passed away from glioblastoma,
Tug
and that's
McGraw,
where the song, yep, Tug, where the song "Live Like You Were Dying" came from.
former
And
Philly, by the
then,
way.
yep, yeah, big time,
Yeah.
big guy.
Yep.
So I was like, what could I do? And so I said, well, I'll do birthday cards, and I started with all the life milestones that I would miss. And really that's what makes us sad, is missing potential memories. And so I said, well, what if I asked Tim McGraw if he would do a duet where we could video the girls for their wedding? Because I want to be there. I want to be a part of their first dance, their wedding dance and all this. And so I just went out on a limb. The neighbor lady is kind of a genius in marketing and stuff like that. But so I said, hey, let's just do it. So I walked over to her house, and she did one take where I did the video where I said, hey, I would really like to do this. It would mean a lot to me, but it would also mean a lot to my girls. Hopefully I'm there to push play when they get married, but statistically it's going to be tough. And so I got a call within 48 hours because 36 million people shared and viewed it. And
So you put it out on like Instagram or Facebook or something or
yeah,
YouTube?
I don't even have Facebook. I don't have TikTok. I have Instagram and LinkedIn.
Okay.
And but I have friends that have it, right? So they put it on Facebook and TikTok and all those things. And the funny thing is, I don't make these. That was the first shot ever at doing any of these things. Well, I didn't put my contact information on there.
Oh,
So Tim said his phone was sending up smoke signals, and his wife Faith was also just phone ringing off the hook. They had to put it on do not disturb because
really?
so many people
Mm.
were reaching out to them. So I flew up there, wore a tuxedo. They wore wedding dresses. The people at the Grand Ole Opry, they shut it down for a while. We danced on the circle, and they had their production team, and then did the duet with Tim as well. And man, what a great guy! And it was really a tough time for him because he was launching a new album right then.
Okay.
So he was able to squeeze me in within a week or two. It was amazing.
How special. Does he stay in touch, or do you guys try to stay in touch with one another
Yeah. So
as
one
much
of
as
his,
possible?
yeah. So we keep in touch, and I'm supposed to go up to Jacksonville here in a little bit to go fishing with one of his managers on the kayak. We just had my second anniversary slash my birthday party in Nashville, and there was 72 of us between Michigan and Florida and all over the states that came in, and we went to the studio or to the concert, and we met him before the concert, and he
How
had a
nice.
little bracelet.
What does that? What's that say? By the way, I was going to ask you what your bracelet says.
So this one says Iron Hugo,
Okay.
and so it's just kind of the neighbor lady made it for me and all my friends, where it's like, hey, just keep on pushing, don't give up, be the tough person we know you can be.
So I have some experiences with wristbands myself. So I ran
Oh, it's awesome.
I ran Livestrong and the Lance Armstrong Foundation, and with the help of some friends at Nike, we brought this to the world. It was like the original Livestrong
Yep,
wristband.
I
But
had those.
did you? Yeah, you
Yeah,
were
they're
probably a
awesome.
young kid when they first came out,
Yeah, I was, and I would wear it for my Ironmans,
right? Oh, nice.
and so yeah, so I would look down at that and be like, all right, don't give up. Just we all need inspiration. We all need to dig deep sometimes. And
What's your advice to people? Do people like reach out to you, or do you reach out to people that are like needing? And again, not just folks with glioblastoma, but any type of cancer. Someone dealing with cancer. What kind of advocacy and kind of help are you providing others?
yeah, so it's really kind of a big scope of what I get to do, and that's what it is. I get to do it, and Medtronic's helped me uh, kind of be in that role to help other patients. I speak to probably 5 to 7 patients a week, and a lot of them are glioblastoma and brain cancer,
Hmm.
but a lot of them are other cancers as well. So we, put them to commons groups, and sometimes it's a psychology talk about how you doing mentally, how's your family, how's this, and sometimes it's all right, how can we attack this problem talk, and I kind of meet them where they are, because if it was up to me, it's like, oh, all right, let's fight this battle, right? We need to fight this battle. And, I do work with the Musella Foundation, where there is there's some problems with the clinical trials. There's some problems with getting products to market. And so I've done some work on Congress and Ways and Means committees and stuff like that. And, definitely try to make it better today, right? And not only that, as an engineer, I would design stuff and fail. But doing that, I would get a better solution. I'd get a better solution. And so the quicker you can fail, the better and quicker you're going to get a solution to save people's lives.
Yeah,
And
failure's part of the deal, right?
absolutely. And, you if it takes 30 years or 40 years for something to fail, then you're not going to have a solution for 120 years. You may have to fail 3 or 4 times. And just the way the landscape is, it's it's not really great to innovate quickly with what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been trying to help on that, working on the Promising Pathway Act, to allow people that we know things that are already helpful, that have been proven safe, to get access to them sooner versus letting us pass, right?
Yep.
Because I can't wait 15 years
Of course not.
when product A is already proving to, like this, it increased my chance of making 5 years 600% if I wear it enough.
Well, I think that AACR, we have over 58,000 members all over the world, and very, very focused on finding cures. We're very much have your mindset, and we really do want to continue to make an impact out there. I'm sure you're an advocate for further research and innovative research as well.
Oh, absolutely. There is 100%. We as patients, right? I have these conversations all the time. We as patients, we want to take a shot, right? Because we want an opportunity to try to save ourselves, even if it's a small opportunity. Because at least with this disease, unfortunately, it takes pretty much everybody, right? And so, what am I saving by being cautious and getting a placebo in a clinical trial? What am I saving myself by not doing anything? I know what we've had 50, 60 years of outcomes if you get standard of care, right? We know what's at the end of that, 50, 60 years, right? And so that really, really frustrates me that we still have placebos on, it's, I listen, I've read the book on placebos. I've read every book you can on it. I understand the science behind why you need placebos. And I've conducted engineering experience with placebos on different implants and stuff like that from my days as an engineer. I get it. If you're talking about hip A versus hip B, how does that work? How you doing? Those are great things to compare. But if you're like, hey, we're just going to put random bullets in a revolver, when that revolver has bullets in every single chamber, it's really unfortunate. And I know that's a kind of controversial subject to say, but I'm telling you, as a patient, we'd rather have a chance at living than, the fake chance of living, right?
Of course.
So, and we try to get people to clinical trials, right? And I had that, which super thankful for a clinical trial. I had one in University of Florida, and that may also help me why I'm alive, right?
Right.
But when we were searching through and looking at them, there were so many clinical trials that had placebos and that didn't even allow Optune. And from this Optune from an NCCN guidelines, right? This is right up there with chemotherapy, radiation. If you're not even allowing the standard of care, the best standard of care in your clinical trial, this clinical trial, the design sucks, right? Because, why don't you tell someone they can't have surgery once they find their brain tumor, right? I mean, that's essentially what you're doing. The outcomes difference will probably be the same. So we advocate to have this as a part of the clinical trial minimum. We advocate to try to minimize on placebos for diseases that are terminal, and then advocate to fail quickly and get to the market quicker.
Well, Mike, listen, from listening to your story, you are quite an inspiration to me and to many, many others out there. I can't wait for our audience to view and listen to this podcast. It's very, very powerful. I applaud you and your family, and I'd love to meet your family one day in person, and give those little ones a high five or a hug from me. And we're behind you all the way. And again, from your early days, getting up at 4:30 in the morning to 4:30 a.m. in the morning to now, I can see I can see the great person that was started back in those early days to where you are today, and I think your attitude is just amazing, and it's been just a great pleasure for us to have this opportunity to chat with you, and we'll continue the conversation flowing.
Yeah, absolutely. When you come down to Delray, let me know. We'll go snorkeling. I'll take the Optune off and we'll go with the
Well,
kids and
I want you to
snorkeling.
teach me how to catch one of those big barracudas, right? We won't tell my wife, but I want to go out for one of those.
Well, send me a text and I'll email or text you those pictures. And the sailfish is even more of a ride, and it's
Got to be
it's
exciting.
awesome.
Got to be exciting.
To, it's a thrill. It's awesome to be able to go on adventures and just appreciate life, and that's where one of the situations and where I'm at, which is so fulfilling. My life revolves around my family, having a purposeful, meaningful life, and being a good person. Try to get into heaven. Try to take care of my kids, and try to help humanity. Really, so I feel like I'm really blessed to be in a position to do that, and every day is a blessing when I open my eyes. So
Great way to look at it. And again, our whole theme of believe in progress is all about believing. I took the believe from Ted Lasso, just because
yeah.
I love the whole concept and the idea, and what are we without progress? What are we without really moving forward? And I think you're living that every day. So I applaud you, young man, and keep up the good work. And we'll stay in touch.
All right, thanks, Mitch.
Thank you, Michael Hugo, for sharing your incredible journey and the impactful work you are doing in the fight against glioblastoma. Your story is a testament to resilience, innovation, and the power of community support. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode of Believe in Progress podcast. If you want to learn more about Mike's advocacy and efforts in cancer research, please visit aacr.org. Remember to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. And please share this podcast with friends and family to spread hope and awareness. Your support is crucial in the fight against cancer. Please consider making a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research at aacr.org. And every contribution helps advance life-saving cancer research. Thank you for listening. And until next time, keep believing in progress and the power of innovation in the fight against cancer. This podcast is produced by my good friends at College Cast LLC. And remember, cancer research saves lives.